Hello, welcome to the Harmony Inspired Health Podcast, where we explore the latest insights and strategies to enhance your health and well-being. Today, we have a special guest, Nagina Abdullah, the founder of MasalaBody, a renowned weight loss website that has helped over 1,500 women in midlife boost their metabolism and achieve sustainable weight loss. She's got a degree in molecular and cell biology from UC Berkeley and features in top media outlets like Health.com, Business Insider, HuffPost, and Fox News. She's a true expert in her field. After personally losing 50 pounds by discovering natural ways to enhance metabolism, she created MasalaBody to help other women experience the same success. So in this episode, we're going to be pulling on her expertise on boosting our metabolism, curbing sugar cravings, and creating a healthy lifestyle without the need for restrictive diets. I know so many of you listening today are going to be all over this episode because this is one of the biggest complaints I get in my women's health clinic. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Harmony. Thank you so much for sharing my background. And I'm just so excited today to talk about boosting metabolism, especially for women and women in midlife where it feels like nothing is working at certain points, or it feels like metabolism can be slowing. But actually, there's a lot of things that we can do just by the food that we eat. And we're going to talk about all of that today.
Yes, I cannot wait. Just before we get started, I always start with a few rapid inspiration questions. So just so that our audience gets to know you a little bit more on a personal level, if your life was a theme song, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Okay. If it was a theme song. So I would say, I really like the song. I feel like it describes, it's called That's the Way Love Goes by Janet Jackson, just because it's so warming. It's just so, it's just really about connection. It's about fun. And then at the end of the day, love. And that's really what everything is about. Even when we're getting healthy, it's just about loving ourselves. And so I really feel that that's a good description.
Yeah, beautiful. And do you have anything that's unconventional that's on your bucket list?
Oh, okay. Unconventional on my bucket list. Let's see. So, there's so many things I like to do that are just kind of like off the beaten path kinds of things. So one of the things I want to do is go to Chile and stay in these huts that are on the mountain. They're these huts. They're really nice huts. They have like running water. They have everything you need. They're actually very luxurious. And then you go hiking every single day. And like see just beautiful mountains. You're on the mountains, beautiful forests, and you come back and then you eat communally with all these other people together. And you could also be with part of your own group as well. But going and doing that soon would be something that I'm definitely planning for.
You have to send me the link for that. I recently went to New Zealand on a holiday and started hiking. I love hiking, and I've said to my husband, I want to do some more hiking adventures. So that sounds amazing. I'd love to do that as well.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's start by hearing a little bit more about your personal journey and how it led to the creation of MasalaBody.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, I have really, I had struggled with my sugar cravings for my entire life. And that was really the source of so many challenges that I had with eating right and with being healthy. And then in addition to that, or as a result of that, I really had struggled with my weight for my whole life, where I wanted to get healthier. I had tried to eat so healthy. I mean, I was the person of any group that would know exactly how many calories was in any meal that I was eating. And I was able to just recite it right away. So I had really tried, every single thing out there to get healthier. And I tried every diet, from doing things like Weight Watchers, South Beach diet. I had tried Atkins. I tried eating less and exercising a lot. And no matter what I did, I could lose, about 10 to 20 pounds, or even 10 to 15 pounds, but then it would always come right back on. immediately after I would get there, because I would start eating all the foods that I had restricted myself by. And so after I had 2 children, I was working in a very demanding career. I was really busy. And at that point, I was I had gained weight from being pregnant, but I also had never really gotten to the weight that I had wanted to. But at this point, it was bigger than me. I started having really low energy. I didn't want to do anything with my children because I was just tired. My back hurt. And at that point, I took a look at myself in the mirror and I said, who are you? Like, is this who you want to be? And can this get any better? Because it's probably just going to get harder looking forward. And I thought about all the memories I wanted to have with my children. And it included me being healthy and me being vibrant and me just wanting to do things. And that's when I took a stand and I said, there has to be a better way than restricting myself. So I started researching all of this information from my degree in molecular and cell biology. And I started reading about foods that can increase your metabolism, how to balance them, how to pair them. And I started following these things and adding foods to my diet. We're going to talk about what some of those foods are, but I also started adding flavors to what I was eating. So it wasn't bland, it was actually delicious. And before I knew it, this was so amazing, but I lost 40 pounds, which is 18 kilos, in only 9 months. And this was just after I started eating more of these metabolism boosting foods. And so once I lost that weight, so many people around me were asking me, oh my gosh, Nagina, how did you do this? You have 2 children. Why do you look like you're more in shape after kids than before kids? And because of that, so many people were asking me that I started my blog, MasalaBody.com. And now it's been over 13 years since that weight loss happened. And I've kept the weight off, but I've also gotten more toned and gotten more fit. And it was the only way that I'd ever found to be sustainable. And along the way, I decided to start helping other women do what I was able to do, because it wasn't hard when I found out how to put the natural foods together. And I wanted other women to learn how easy it could be.
That's amazing. And thank you for shifting that metric for us. So 18 kilos for our Aussies listening.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's a lot of work would have went into it, but you said it was easy once you learned all the secret recipes, the secret spices. I'm wondering if the name MasalaBody, is that from all of the wonderful metabolic spices you use? Is that how you got the name for your business?
Yes, good guess. It was actually because when I was eating the food that helped me lose that weight, it tasted so good. And every night I would sit down and eat my dinner, and my husband would do it with me. And we would look at each other and I would say, oh my God, I can't believe this is healthy food. Because usually healthy food tasted so boring and it was such small quantities the way that I had done it with all those other methods. But now I was eating large portions of delicious foods, but I was spicing it with spices like turmeric, cinnamon, cumin, coriander, garlic, ginger. And my food tasted like restaurant food, but it was so simple the way I was cooking it. And so the name MasalaBody, it means a blend of spices can bring you a spicy body. So MasalaBody is a spicy body. And so that's how it came about.
Yes, I love that. And I'm also super excited because all of those spices, as you know, are Ayurvedic spices, which we will get into a little later. But before we go a little deeper, I just want to ask you about what some of the common challenges women face when it comes to midlife weight loss, and why the traditional diets sort of don't work for women in their midlife, just so we know where we're starting, and then we can get into all the nitty-gritty of what we've got to do about it.
Yes, absolutely. So traditional diets, they could work for a short period of time, depending, that's really depending on age, because when you're restricting yourself and really having less calories, that can work. It might have worked for it depending on what age range you're in, but it's never going to feel permanent no matter what. So the thing is, once you start restricting foods that you love and you start feeling hungry, there's only so long you can survive that. And then you feel, you just can't get yourself to feel that hunger over and over again every single day. But the thing that happens is that after midlife, which is around 40 to 45 years old, we actually, diets and eating less doesn't even work anymore. So even if you're looking for a temporary solution, women who are trying to diet and do what they did before will realize this is no longer working. And that's because our body needs more nutrients. It needs the right amount of calories because it needs to support our hormones. It also needs to support our muscle mass. And so all of these things are declining in midlife. And if we're eating too little, it's declining faster. And our bodies also need that food to keep those systems working. So when you actually eat enough of the right food, then your hormones stabilize, which is amazing, something that so many midlife women are struggling with. Then if you wanted to do something in addition to that, you could, but you're going to reach a lot of the way there naturally just from eating the right way. And so if you undereat, which is a huge problem, actually one of the top problems I'm seeing with women in midlife, you're going to stay stuck at the same weight, and it's going to feel really confusing about why you're not losing weight. And it's because our bodies change and we need to have the right nutrients. We can no longer undereat, and it wasn't right to do that to begin with. We could just get away with it. But now when we're undereating, we're not creating enough muscle mass. Our muscle mass is decreasing already. So you're transforming your body from more muscle to fat anyway. And when you don't eat enough, then your muscle is decreasing even more quickly. So this is why diets don't work. They don't work due to restriction. They don't work because they're just not sustainable. They don't feel good. But it's also because we need to eat the right amounts of food. And when you eat the right foods or even eat more of the right foods, that's how we boost our metabolism. And you will see that you'll start losing weight when you start adding specific foods to your diet.
Absolutely. And I think that we do have to change that mind shift around dieting and it being actually a lifestyle change, because it's not just about the food, it's about all of the things we do with that, the way we mindfully eat, the way we see ourselves, speak to ourselves, and like you said, eating proper amounts of food that support our body. I know in Ayurveda, we really look at the diet from an individual bioconstitution. So we look at the doshas and prescribe different food groups that suit that individual, as well as working on Agni. And the term Agni is almost equivalent to sort of like what we're talking about here, the metabolism. So this is like brilliant on really bringing in the science of how that Agni sort of works and how we can boost our metabolism. So can you explain how adding timing and preparing foods can enhance our metabolism, especially in midlife?
Okay, yes. How adding time to preparing our foods? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, or the timing of foods and pairing the foods.
Absolutely. Yes. So the timing and the combinations of foods are very, very key, because what this means is that we can eat our favorite foods. We just want to combine it with other foods that are not elevating our blood sugar as much. So a big reason that we are gaining more fat by eating unhealthier foods is because foods that cause your blood sugar to spike or go up really quickly and then come down really quickly, what's happening in that moment. So for example, let's talk about a food that might cause this. If you were to eat, bread, pasta, or any sweets, these are foods that you don't have to take out of your diet. But if you eat it alone, your blood sugar is going to spike, and then the hormone insulin is going to be released so that it brings that spike down, and the blood sugar is taken out of the sugar is taken out of your blood, and it's stored in our fat cells as fat. And so ideally, we want to be eating more foods that are actually helping our blood sugar stay stable, so they're not causing those ups and downs. So these are especially foods which are higher in protein. So, and I have a mantra which is called protein more. And that means at every meal, say the mantra protein more. And it means just eat more protein than you were eating before. But if you want to get specific, also eat at least 30 grams of protein at each sitting. Okay. So when you're eating 30 grams of protein, what happens is that it digests very slowly through your, in your body. And so you're going to stay full for longer, but it doesn't create those blood sugar spikes as well. So you're staying full for longer and insulin is not being released. You're not storing fat. So this is one of the biggest ways that I lost my 18 kilos is because I actually started adding protein and my blood sugar stopped spiking. And that was a huge, huge difference. But I still was able to eat carbs, breads, pastas, things like that, because when I ate it, I would make sure I was combining it with a protein. So those carbohydrates are going to spike your blood sugar levels. But when you eat it with a protein, and let's talk about timing actually, when you eat the protein first, and then you eat the blood sugar spiking food, it's like your body is stabilized. So your blood sugar will still spike, but it'll go about 50% or so of what it would have before, depending on the quantity of what you're eating. So that's really key, understanding these combinations. And then one final thing, in addition to adding more protein, is also eating the right kinds of carbohydrates, because there are carbs that don't spike your blood sugar as much. And so you could actually maximize this and imagine just dropping 2 kilos, then 3 kilos, then 4 kilos, and it just dropping off and feeling like it's melting. That's how it felt to me. I felt like the fat was melting away once I learned how to stabilize my blood sugar. So this is so key. And it's more important than eating less, because you still are able to give your body the nutrients that you need. And so some examples of healthy carbs are what I call slimming carbs. These are carbs that have more fiber in them, and they potentially have a little bit of protein in them, and that's slowing the digestion so it's not spiking. So my favorite examples of slimming carbs are lentils or beans. They are full of fiber. They're actually pushing food out of your digestive system, so you're able to go to the bathroom more. They're also helping to keep you full for longer, and they're giving you that satisfaction of carbs. Also, things like other examples of slimming carbs are what I call slimming grains. So alternatives to rice, which rice does cause a significant blood sugar spike. But if you eat alternatives to rice, which are things like millet or farro, couscous, bulgur, these are slimming grains that they feel like rice. They resemble rice in so many ways, but they're not causing that huge spike. Or of course, if you do something like cauliflower rice or broccoli rice, that's going to definitely have such a lower spike. So really, if you're having one of those, like a slimming grain, and then you're adding a protein, whether it's chicken, fish, tofu, and then you also are having veggies, those three things comprise what I call the fat burning food framework. And the fat burning food framework is a really perfect way to combine your foods so that you're having an even blood sugar, but you're still feeling satisfied. You're still loving what you eat, but you're melting your fat away. And it's truly just from natural foods.
Brilliant. And can you just give us an example of what 30 grams of protein would roughly look like, just for our listeners who are thinking,
yes, definitely. Thanks so much. That's such a good question. I'm just going to convert my ounces into grams too, because I know what that is. So, okay. So really what we're talking about is either like around 140 grams or around 5 ounces of any kind of meat or fish that's lean. Okay. So something like chicken breasts or white fish or turkey, those are more lean meats. If you're going to do something a little bit fattier, then what you want to do is you want to do around like 112 or 115 grams. So a little bit less. So we're talking about 115 to 140 grams or so, or 4 to 5 ounces of of your protein. And so for the fattier ones, those are things like beef, salmon, even tofu is actually fatty in a good way. These are not negative. They're just means that they have fat in them. So having that actual piece. And so this is really important because a lot of times when we're eating out, if you order something like a chicken salad, you're going to feel, okay, good that you're getting the protein, but it's usually half the amount that you need. Usually when you're eating out, that's what they're giving you. And so it's really important to have, that amount. And if you don't have to use a scale, really, a really good way to do this is just to look at your palm and just to go from the tip to the bottom. And then, if you take your thumb out of it, then you just have the width of like that much. That's going to be around, that amount that I told you, like 112 to 140 grams. If you do have a scale, you could definitely use that, and that's okay, but you don't have to be exact. It's more like a general amount, knowing that. And then a couple other things that you could use for that 30 grams are things like 2 eggs and a half cup to a cup of liquid egg whites, or you could use 3 egg whites. So, I want to make it, I just want to share that a lot of times 2 eggs is very common to eat in the morning, but 2 eggs is only 12 grams of protein. 1 egg is only 6 grams. So if you're only eating 12 grams of protein in the morning, you will feel hunger cravings, and you're likely going to feel cravings for breads and for other like mid-morning snacks. But if you eat enough, if you have 2 eggs and then have an entire cup of egg whites, a cup of egg whites is 20 grams of protein. So then you're getting 32 grams. And in the beginning, it may feel like a lot, but what happens is that your metabolism starts increasing and you get hungrier and you want to eat that. But you can also do 2 eggs and a Greek yogurt if you have that, or cottage cheese, or anything else that kind of complements it. So, you could go very simple with a meat or fish or tofu, or you could also do these other alternatives for breakfast as well. And one more thing is, if you have a protein powder, I really think it's a great idea to have 1 protein shake a day. That's going to give you 30 grams in that 1 scoop. And just combine it with water or some almond milk, and just mix it up in a blender. And there's your quick 30 grams, and it's going to really help you boost and get what you need.
And I know I'm going to get this question because a lot of not a lot, but a majority of my clients are vegan. So how do vegans get enough protein?
Yes. Okay. So, and I work with a lot of vegans, and so I'm very, very familiar. So first of all, there's the healthy, what I call healthy carbs. And I do think they should be categorized which are lentils or beans. A lot of vegans would refer to it as a protein. And I actually want to bust that myth right now, because what's happening is it's doing a disservice to vegans to think of it as a protein, because we feel like we need to eat more of it to get more protein, but you're getting more protein, but you're also getting a lot more carbohydrates, which are spiking your blood sugar. So it's just important to understand, in about a half cup of lentils, you have 8 grams of protein. Okay. So that's really, really key to know. It's only 8 grams of protein. You still do want to get the rest of that protein in a different way. But having lentils in your day and beans in your day is really, really great. I recommend having it twice a day with half a cup each. And that will really be a good amount. But the other ways of getting protein are things like, so the protein powder is really key, because that's an absolute must almost for vegans to get that extra protein without all the extra stuff, things in it. Then there's things like tofu, tempeh, and there's also some vegan forms of Greek yogurt. So instead of having a yogurt, that's actually made from dairy milk, there's vegan versions that are really high in protein, and those are really good. And then things like edamame are excellent, and using lots of ingredients from Eastern cultures. For example, chickpea flour, and making a chickpea scramble in the morning, adding turmeric and black pepper and onions to that, either a scramble or like a pancake with that. That's a really good thing. But then what you could do is you could add in hemp seeds, and hemp seeds is another great protein booster for vegans. It's all natural and it has 10 grams of protein for 3 tablespoons. It's important to look at the serving size. So a really great thing for vegans that I recommend is to have lentils. So have a half cup of lentils, but add a serving, which means 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds. Then you're already at 18 grams. And then if you're able to do one of the other things I mentioned, like tofu, tempeh, a vegan Greek yogurt, or a protein shake, then you're really, really getting to that place. So it's really just about using these different sources and then like layering them together for vegans.
That's amazing, because I think, a lot of people will be wondering about that. So that was very clear. Thank you for explaining that. The other thing you were talking about earlier was the blood sugar spiking. I know a lot of women struggle with sugar cravings. So do you have any recommendations for curbing these cravings effectively?
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the biggest things. And also, as I mentioned in the beginning, I struggled with sugar cravings. So I really understand how they're completely uncontrollable, even if you have the best intentions and you start the day really great. It's really, really common to start the day feeling like, okay, I'm going to eat healthy today. And then you eat a healthy, you start with a good breakfast, then you may have a good lunch. And then in the afternoon, the sugar cravings just come on so strong. And I call this all or nothing, where, you might give into those sugar cravings because they're so strong. And then after that, you're like, well, since I already ate sugar, I might as well just eat whatever I want for the rest of the day. And you order pizza or you have grilled cheese or something like that. So I call that the all or nothing way of thinking. And it doesn't have to be like that, because we could just make a healthier choice. Instead of going all or nothing and just say, okay, I needed the sugar. Now I want to make a healthier choice. But alternatives. So for sugar cravings, the first thing I want to talk about is something a little unconventional. And then I will share a really easy substitute and food to have when you're having sugar cravings. But a big reason that we're having sugar cravings is because women are not following the protein more principle. And so when you're not feeling full and satisfied, your body starts crying out for something. And it sounds like it feels like our body wants sugar, but actually our body is missing protein. And so if we had actually been proactive and eaten before we got hungry and had that protein, then we wouldn't have felt these sugar cravings. And it's literally a life changer. This is a body transformation changer to start adding more protein. So once you start doing that, and we will talk about ways to make protein taste good, because that's important to want to eat it more. But then, if you, that's going to take care of a lot of the cravings, sometimes 100%, sometimes maybe 80% of the cravings, and there may be a little bit left over. So one of the easy things to do when you're craving sugar is to use the spice cinnamon. And that's because cinnamon, it actually lowers our blood sugar because it doesn't create that insulin spike. So it doesn't cause our fat to be stored, but it still gives that sweetness and it gives that satisfaction to us. And so sprinkling cinnamon on fruit, sprinkling it on your oatmeal, you could sprinkle it, onto your dessert even, and that's going to help bring down the blood sugar a little bit. That's really, really great. So using cinnamon as like a quick addition is really helpful. And then also a few, alternatives is one of the things that can work really well is that we talked about combining and pairing foods before. Well, if you can have a date is sweet, but it doesn't spike our blood sugar that much. If you pair that with a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of peanut butter or with nuts, the nuts also help stabilize our blood sugar spikes. So you can have that sweetness, and then you have that little bit of that healthy fat from the nuts or the almond butter or the peanut butter, and that's a really great late night snack when women are craving something at night because we're tired and we just want to take care of ourselves. if you do something like that, it's such a better, more positive way of taking care of ourselves. And then your blood sugar doesn't spike as much. So those are a couple of things. Also, any kind of nice protein rich yogurt and add some cinnamon to it with a little bit of nuts is also a really, really great option. But these are all really curing symptoms to really cure the root of the problem. And you actually can get rid of your sugar cravings. That's what changes everything. That's why women that I've helped, over 1,500 women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s, that have lost, so anywhere from 10 to 80 pounds, or like 4 to 35 kilos or so. It's truly transformational when you start adding that protein and pairing it with healthy carbs, adding veggies and following the fat burning food framework. Your sugar cravings actually disappear, and then you choose to have sugar. And you enjoy that chocolate. You want that chocolate, but it's not calling your name like it might have been before.
Absolutely. And I love cinnamon. I love that as a spice. It's amazing. And some really great tips there as well. What are some other metabolism boosting spices? I know you've mentioned turmeric and ginger. What are some of your other favorite ones that women can pop in their meals to help boost their metabolism?
Yes. Oh, I love this topic because it's so easy and it's so much fun. And this is really the main way, how I got my food to taste so good that I preferred eating the food that I was cooking at home to restaurant food, because it was so good. And then I had control over everything that was going in it. And so, starting with cinnamon, starting the morning with cinnamon. So that was the first thing I did as I started losing weight, was to start adding cinnamon to my coffee in the morning, because I really liked these really delicious French vanilla creamers that had so much. So they said they were artificial sweeteners and they weren't sugar. Those also are not helpful for you, because your body is staying addicted to the taste of sweet. And so we actually want to get off of the taste of sweet, because then we'll still be looking for it. So using cinnamon was the first way that I started realizing, oh my gosh, I can do this. Like, I can still have my coffee, but I just have it a little bit lighter, and it started reducing my sugar cravings, because when you give your body some sugar, it wants more sugar. So you bring it down with the cinnamon instead. That's how you flavor it. So cinnamon, you mentioned turmeric. I just want to share a little bit about turmeric and how to use it, because it's such an amazing spice. It's very anti-inflammatory, so it helps reduce puffiness in our face, in our bellies. It reduces puffiness in our joints. Of course, many people know it's great for arthritis, but it's also great for slimming down and just for reducing puffiness. And so turmeric is a really perfect thing to add to your eggs in the morning, because they're yellow anyway, and turmeric is a beautiful yellow color, and it doesn't really have a taste to it. It's a mild, slight earthy flavor. So you can add about a half teaspoon to your eggs. And you always want to add at least a sprinkle of black pepper, because it helps your body absorb turmeric like 2,000% more. Turmeric is a mild spice. Cinnamon is a sweet spice. I'll also tell you a few spices, and then I will mention one spicy spice, the thing is, spices are not necessarily spicy. They're just flavorful. So sometimes people may not want to eat spices because they're spicy, but that's not true. Actually, there's just some spices that are spicy. So another really great mild spice is cumin. And cumin is like a smoky flavor, and it's really great with it's really great with beans. If you're making chili, if you're having lentils, it's amazing. All you do is sprinkle cumin there, and cumin actually has been proven to reduce belly fat by 3 times as much as if you weren't having cumin. And it's really tasty. So that's a good one. And one more I'll mention before I mention the spicy spice is coriander. And so coriander comes from the leaves of coriander, but it's ground coriander. And so coriander is actually a tangy, fresh flavor, and it helps us to reduce our water weight. It helps us to reduce our bloating. And that's a big problem, especially for women in midlife or at certain times of our cycle that we have more bloating. So you will notice if you add coriander on top of your vegetables, like you'll start to see the bloating going down. And if you use a debloating vegetable, for example, asparagus is very debloating, so it decreases water retention. If you add like a teaspoon or so, just sprinkle it on. It doesn't even matter how much of coriander on your asparagus. You could cook your asparagus in any way. I like to roast it because it's really hands off and it's really easy to do that. So put it in the oven. And you're going to notice that you will have to go to the bathroom like within 30 minutes, even if you didn't have anything to drink. So I've done this so many times before, and I'm just amazed how it truly does decrease water retention. So it decreases debloating. And then finally, I love cayenne pepper, which is a spicy spice, and that really helps get your metabolism going. Of course, we can probably imagine that, because if you add a little bit too much, you'll feel yourself sweating and you'll feel you might have to wipe your face. That's because you're increasing your metabolism. But for some people who already eat cayenne pepper, eat spicy foods, you just have to add a little bit more or just keep eating it because it's still helping you, even if you're not sweating. Like for me, I can eat very spicy food, but I'm still using cayenne pepper because it's still helping with increasing metabolism. It's increasing calorie burning. And so you can use cayenne pepper in so many things. You can sprinkle it on your eggs. You can put it on your veggies. You can put it on any kinds of meat or tofu or fish, or in your beans or lentils, but you don't have to use a lot. You can just use a little bit. And if you really want to start off milder, the key is that cayenne pepper has a compound called capsaicin in it. And capsaicin is the compound that creates this fat burning, this metabolism boosting. And so capsaicin is also in the spice paprika, which is so much more mild in heat. And so you can start with paprika, and then if you start to want to have more, you can keep going up and, eventually get to cayenne pepper. So those are a few. I can just summarize. Cinnamon is a sweet one, turmeric, then we talked about cumin, coriander, and then we talked about cayenne pepper, and all of them have different benefits around weight loss and around metabolism boosting. So when you use them in conjunction, you're kind of using them throughout your day. You're getting so many benefits, from metabolism boosting to blood sugar balancing, to reducing belly fat, and your food is tasting incredibly delicious. And that's the other benefit of it as well.
Amazing. In Ayurveda, actually, we have this tea called CCFT, which really helps with the debloating and the gas and digestion and increasing the Agni, the metabolism. And it stands for cumin, coriander, and fennel. So we steep those seeds in hot water and then drain it and sip it throughout the day, or even sip it with your meals. And it's really good for as a digestive aid, and also some grated ginger on food as well if they're having digestive problems. So yeah, I love kitchen pharmacy because it's such an easy thing that we can implement into our diets and our lifestyle to really benefit our mind, our body, our constitution, and of course our metabolism. One of the other things that I really wanted to talk to you about is sort of moving a little bit away from the food and stuff, but the importance of flexibility and accountability in weight loss, how these elements contribute to creating a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. Because I know that, I have clients come and see me and they want to balance their hormones, they want to lose weight, all of the things. And we discuss the lifestyle, the dietary, and we do some herbal concoctions, whatnot. The ones that make the greatest change and the longest lasting change are the ones that really implement the actions, obviously. But for some women, it's harder for them to put these things into place. And I think that's where that accountability and everything comes in. But I would love for you to speak more on this.
Yes, absolutely. Because so the thing is that a lot of times, women put a burden. We put a burden on ourselves that we have to do things all by ourselves. And it's something I should be able to figure out. But yet year after year, we may be in the same place. And so that means it's not that you're not working hard enough, because sometimes you can't work any harder. It's not about working hard enough. It's about, there's another part of the equation that has to come into it. And a lot of times it is so often accountability. And this is one of the reasons I'm seeing so many results with our clients, is because we don't let them do their own thing. We're looking at what they're doing. We're seeing what they're eating. We're giving them input. They know that someone's looking at what they're eating. And it's been proven that people that have accountability, that have a community, they are going to get more success than if you're doing it all by yourself. And so, especially when you're in a situation where you don't even know what to do anymore, because what was happening before no longer works, you can feel like you try one thing, then you try something else, and then you feel like it's not working. So you pull back, and then you try something different. So you're not really staying consistent. And consistency is the answer to losing weight. It's just doing the thing that works over and over and over again. But many times we don't know that it's going to work until we see it happening, and until you have every single thing in place, it's harder to get your metabolism going, especially in midlife. And so you just don't know if it's even working. So a lot of times we'll think, oh, well, this just isn't meant for me. I'm meant to stay at this weight. I'm not meant to lose weight. We tell ourselves a lot of stories. But if you had somebody that was guiding you, and that was helping you, and that was giving you feedback and making you feel good about what you're doing, and actually giving you the right advice as well, then you are so much more likely to follow the protocol, and to actually make it a lifestyle, which is what we're talking about here too. It's not just a diet, it's a lifestyle. But accountability is the number one reason that women are losing, can lose weight, or can maybe just stay stuck. Because in order to be consistent, if you have someone that is checking in on you and supporting you, you are going to be more likely to take action. And you're going to be more likely to take consistent action. That is the key. Consistent action for not only weeks, but months. Like that is, we can feel excited to do something for a couple weeks, but then life comes up. But if you have accountability, then you could stay consistent all the way to losing, all the weight that you want to, and getting the healthiest possible. But it really does take having some support around you.
Absolutely. And I think that accountability also helps with the self-sabotage behaviors that we often do when we're left to our own devices. And then we're like, oh, it doesn't work, it didn't work. But that's because we've been self-sabotaging, and we haven't given it enough time, and we haven't had that knowledge and that support, because the wisdom of, a professional in the field is so much different than Googling information. So different.
Absolutely. That reminds me of the saying, it's not information, it's transformation. And so many women are so smart in terms of knowing foods to eat, or knowing the benefits and the things that are wrong with foods. But then that's not necessarily giving the transformation. It's about knowing how to connect all the dots, knowing how to put foods together, and also how to feel good, and doing it every day. And knowing how to navigate like social situations and all of those things that come up without feeling like you have to be picky either. So accountability will help you do that.
Yeah, brilliant. And one of the final things I wanted to ask on the diet side of things, or the nutrition side of things, you spoke about not eating less, but eating really good quality foods. So what would you say is, like, in regards to portion sizes, what do you recommend for maintaining a metabolism boosting diet, and how can portion control aid in sustainable weight loss?
Yes. So, we talked about combining foods, and we talked about timing foods. But the other piece is the portion sizes of food. So the first way to get started, and you will see results just from combining your foods in the way we talked about, and then doing some of the timing we talked about, like protein first, But the portion size is where once you'll see the weight loss from that initial thing, then the portion sizes are going to make sure that you keep getting that weight loss. So it's really defined on your current weight, what your portion sizes are. So, but I can give you some general amounts that sometimes are a little bit more for some people, sometimes they're a little bit less. But we talked about the 30 grams of protein, and really trying to get to, and I mentioned the portions of protein. So we're talking about, like 112 to 140 grams or 5 to 6 ounces of protein. When we're looking at vegetables, which is really important to have at every meal because of the fiber and the way it keeps us full and it pushes food out of our body. And it's also with hardly any calories or sugar that it's doing that. But at breakfast, you could also have low sugar fruit instead of a vegetable, like things like berries or tangerines or a small apple. So, in terms of vegetables, we want you to have, 1 to 2 cups of it or 1 to 2 handfuls of it, that you're actually, after it's cooked, that's what you're eating. Or if you're having it raw, those amounts. So really your plate should look like having 40 to 50% protein, 40 to 50% of vegetables, and then like a fourth of the plate can be your healthy carbs. So the slimming grains that we talked about, or we talked about beans and lentils as well. So a fourth of your plate is that. And then healthy fats are in there. They're usually in your protein, or they might be in your slimming carbs. So we're looking at, if you look at your plate, it's like, do I have enough protein? Because if your carb is the biggest part of your plate and your protein is the smallest, just switch that formula and make it about the protein is the bigger part and the carbs are the smaller part. And then add a lot of vegetables in there as well. So it's really just looking at your plate. And that's what I call the fat burning food framework. It's very simple. It's all about just looking at your plate and understanding the formula of, okay, when I look at it, do I have enough of the right foods that are increasing my metabolism? So.
Brilliant. Thank you. You have brought us so much wisdom today. There's a lot to take in, but it is a lot of gold. And I think it's going to be really, really helpful for all of the women out there midlife who are struggling to lose some of that weight. You do have a free class coming up. Would you love to share about that? Because I'm sure that there's going to be some women listening to this going, okay, what do I do? Like, where do I start with all of that gold? Well, they can probably start at your free class. So would you like to share?
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I am going to be having a workshop, and it's called the 5-Day Metabolism Boost for Midlife Women. And this is a workshop where every day I'm going to be teaching live classes for free. And I'm going to be really getting into so much more detail about exactly what to eat for breakfast, including my infused debloating water recipes, where it's a way to add more hydration, but also increase metabolism and debloat your body with the infused debloating water that I'm going to talk about on day 1. I'm also going to be talking about how to really combine all your foods. And I'm going to give you a large list of foods to add for the fat burning food framework, like examples of proteins, vegetables, carbs, and how to pair them, and more about the portion sizes. And then one of my best days is where I talk about how to get off sugar without feeling tired or restricted. And I'm going to talk about what foods are creating these blood sugar spikes and what foods to pair them with to bring that spike down to 50% or less, so that you can really understand what foods to pair and how to go about eating things as simple as, how do I eat a sandwich in a way that's going to spike my blood sugar 50% of what it was before. So this is the 5-Day Metabolism Boost for Midlife Women, where I'm going to teach you all the secrets that I uncovered to keep my metabolism high, as well as 1,500 of my clients' metabolism high. And I'm teaching a simple 5-step plan to naturally boost your metabolism through delicious food. So I think we have that link below to join, and it's starting very soon. So I'm really looking forward to having those of you watching to join.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and being amazingly brilliant at what you do and giving us all of that inside information. Definitely jump on to the free masterclass. Well, 5 days of classes, did you say?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That is brilliant. That you're going to get so much out of that. So yeah, jump on that. The link is below. And where else can the listeners find you if they want to come and say hi?
Yes, well, my website is MasalaBody.com. And so that's where you can see, a little bit more about my story. You can also go to the success stories page and just see hundreds of women that have lost weight in midlife by eating more and following the principle of protein more, and see how their waists have just shrunk. Sometimes anywhere from 3 to 5 inches, or really 9 to 15 centimeters in just less than 8 weeks. And so that's actually, you can take a look at their stories. And I'm also on Instagram at MasalaBody, where I share advice, pictures, behind the scenes, and more about that. So those are a couple places to look for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love for you to take a screenshot of you listening to the episode and share it on Instagram and tag both Harmony Inspired Ayurveda and MasalaBody. Thank you.
Thank you.